bikers start threatening a black teenager at a quiet gas station. But what happens next when two unexpected heroes step in will leave everyone speechless. Watch until the end and decide, what would you do? Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden light across the quiet highway as John Cena and Dwayne Johnson cruised in a sleek black Jeep, the windows down, the music low, and the air thick with the satisfaction of a good workout. They had just finished a grueling session at a local gym, one of those hidden gems known only to serious athletes, and were still joking back and forth about who had lifted more, who cheated on the last set, and who would be the first to admit soreness tomorrow. Their camaraderie was real, built on mutual respect and years of crossing paths inside and outside the ring. As the Jeep rolled down the nearly deserted road, Cena spotted a gas station up ahead. "Let's make a quick stop," he said. "Need fuel and maybe something cold to drink." "Sounds good," Dwayne replied, stretching his neck. "I could kill for a protein bar and a gallon of water." They pulled into the lot of a small gas station that looked like it had been forgotten by time. One old gas pump stood crooked under a flickering light. The attached convenience store had a peel-in sign and dusty windows. It was the kind of place that felt like it belonged in an old movie. Quiet, eerie, and out of the way. But it was peaceful, for now. As Cena stepped out to fuel up, Dwayne headed into the store. From the corner of his eye, John noticed a boy standing near the vending machines just outside the shop. The boy couldn't have been older than 10. He was black, with short, curly hair, wearing a faded blue hoodie and sneakers that had seen better days. But what caught Cena's attention was the sign in the boy's hands. It was handmade from cardboard, and in large, colorful letters it read, "You're my champions." Cena smiled. "Hey there, little man, that sign for us?" The boy's eyes widened, his mouth opening in astonishment. "No way," he whispered. "You're really John Cena? And is that The Rock?" Dwayne stepped out just in time to hear it, flashing a grin. "In the flesh, my man." The boy, Tyler, looked like he might explode from joy. "I watch all your matches, every one. You guys taught me to never give up." Cena crouched down, motioning for the sign. "You made this?" Tyler nodded, a little shy now. "Yeah, I wanted to show it to someone just in case. In case you ever came by." Dwayne took a knee beside them. "Well, guess what? You made it happen. It takes real heart, kid." As they took a photo with him, others began to notice what was happening. A few teens from the store pulled out their phones. An older couple smiled from the side. It was turning into a heartwarming moment. But not everyone was enjoying the scene. At the far end of the lot, under the shade of a rusted billboard, sat 4 bikers leaning on their motorcycles. They looked like trouble from a mile away, patched leather vests, scuffed boots, and beer cans on the ground beside them. Their leader, Roy, was a tall, heavy-set man with a snake tattoo that wrapped around his thick neck. He watched Cena and Dwayne with narrowed eyes and a twisted smirk. "Look at these 2 clowns," Roy muttered, taking a long drag from his cigarette. "Big-time wrestlers playing superhero with a kid. Makes me sick." Another biker, a wiry guy with a long beard and an angry twitch in his eyes, scoffed. "I bet those muscles are all for show. Probably wouldn't last 5 minutes in a real street fight." A third biker, a woman with sunburned skin and a cruel laugh, pointed toward Tyler. "And what's that little mutt doing here with his stupid sign? Shouldn't be hanging around decent folk like us." Roy's lips curled into a sneer. Disgusting. All of it. At his feet, a large German shepherd lay alert, its ears twitching. It was lean and powerful, its black and tan coat gleaming despite the dust. Roy gave the leash a tug. The dog lifted its head, baring its teeth. Meanwhile, Tyler hadn't noticed them yet. He was still talking excitedly to Cena, showing him drawings he had made of wrestling moves and championship belts. That's when Roy stood up. "Let's go say hi," he said to his crew. "See if these superstars still smile when things get real." The four bikers walked slowly across the lot, their boots crunching on gravel, their presence shifting the atmosphere instantly. The teens scattered back into the store. The elderly couple retreated to their car. Even the gas station clerk locked the front door quietly. Cena and Dwayne turned as the group approached. Their posture didn't change, but their eyes sharpened. "Well, well," Roy said loudly, swinging the leash lazily. "Ain't this a sweet little picture? Big men, big fans, and a little street rat with a sign." Dwayne's smile vanished. Cena stood up slowly. "You got a problem?" Cena asked, voice calm. Roy laughed. "Just wondering what kind of man needs a fan club to feel important. You two looking for applause or just lost?" Tyler shrank back behind Dwayne, who instinctively stepped sideways to shield him. "Careful how you talk, man," Dwayne said. "This isn't the place to act tough." Roy glanced at Tyler again. "What's your name, kid? Or should I just call you Monkey? That work for you?" Tyler's face turned pale. Cena's jaw clenched. Dwayne took a single step forward, but Roy pulled the leash tighter, jerking the dog to attention. "You like dogs, boy?" Roy asked. "This one's got nose for weakness." Tyler, voice shaken, spoke up. "You're just a bully. They're better than you'll ever be." Roy's eyes darkened. "What'd you say, brat?" "I said they're heroes. You're nothing." That was all it took. Roy hissed through his teeth, dropped the leash, and shouted, "Get him!" The German shepherd lunged, barking ferociously, charging straight at Tyler, but he never reached him. In a blur of movement, Dwayne Johnson threw himself between the boy and the dog, catching the animal mid-leap. He grabbed the dog's collar with both hands, holding tight as it struggled and snarled. Dwayne twisted, forcing the dog to the ground without hurting it. "Easy, boy," he grunted. "You don't know what you're doing." Cena was already moving. He stepped straight to Roy, grabbing the biker by the front of his vest and slamming him against the gas pump. "You tried to sick a dog on a child," Cena growled. "You crossed the line." Roy tried to swing a punch, but Cena ducked, pivoted, and drove a clean punch into Roy's stomach, sending him stumbling backward. The other bikers advanced, but Dwayne released the dog, which now sat obediently at his side. He turned, cracking his knuckles. "You really want to do this?" he asked. The fight hadn't started yet, but it was coming, and neither Cena nor Dwayne were backing down. The tension in the gas station parking lot thickened like storm clouds ready to burst. The brief joy that had filled the air minutes ago was gone, replaced by dread as the bikers squared off against the two towering figures of John Cena and Dwayne Johnson. Tyler stood behind them, eyes wide, breath short, his homemade sign crumpled in his fist. The German shepherd that had nearly mauled him now sat obediently beside Dwayne, its snarl replaced by confused panting. It wasn't a bad dog, it had simply obeyed its master. But now, under Dwayne's steady hand, it was calm. Roy spat onto the ground, wiping his mouth where Cena's punch had landed. The other three bikers fanned out around him, eyes sharp with aggression, their movements growing more hostile. One of them, the wiry man with the greasy beard and twitchy hands, picked up a length of chain from the saddlebag of his bike. Another grabbed a rusted pipe. The third, the woman with the cruel grin, cracked her knuckles and sneered at Dwayne. "So what now, Hollywood heroes?" Roy said, voice thick with mockery. "You gonna save the day with your shiny smiles and gym muscles? You attacked a child," Cena said, his voice low and dangerous. "You think this is about ego? It's about decency." "And you," Dwayne added, his gaze locked on Roy, "you use that dog like a weapon. You don't deserve to own a pet." Roy snorted. "I don't need lectures from actors who pretend to fight on TV. Let's see how much pretending this is," Dwayne said. The first biker lunged at Cena, chain swinging in a wide arc. Cena ducked, sidestepped, and with a powerful motion, grabbed the biker's wrist and yanked hard, causing the man to lose balance. In one swift movement, Cena twisted the chain from his hand and sent him sprawling onto the gravel. Another biker charged with the pipe, aiming for Dwayne's ribs. But Dwayne turned just in time, blocking the strike with his forearm and following up with a brutal elbow to the attacker's jaw. The pipe clattered to the ground, and Dwayne kicked it away before slamming his palm into the man's chest, sending him backward with a pained grunt. Roy stepped forward, eyes burning with fury, a knife suddenly appearing in his hand. He waved it toward Cena like a challenge, while barking at the others. "Don't hold back. Wipe the smiles off their faces." The woman rushed toward Dwayne, fists flying. She was fast, but he was faster. He ducked her swing, caught her wrist midair, and with a swift rotation spun her around and swept her legs out from under her. She hit the ground with a thud, dazed. Meanwhile, the bearded biker had recovered and was now charging Cena again. This time he tried to tackle him. Cena turned his body, letting the man collide with his shoulder, then dropped his weight and flipped him onto the ground with a thunderous slam. Roy slashed the knife through the air, aiming for Cena's side, but Cena dodged, caught Roy's arm, and twisted it. The knife clattered from Roy's hand, landing near Tyler's feet. Cena landed a firm strike to Roy's ribs and shoved him backward. Tyler screamed, pointing at the knife. "He dropped it!" Roy roared and dove toward the weapon again, but Dwayne was already moving. He sprinted past the downed bikers and reached the knife first, kicking it away from Roy's reach. Roy snarled and turned to throw a punch, but Dwayne blocked it and countered with a body blow that doubled Roy over. The German shepherd, still sitting nearby, barked once and whined. Dwayne glanced at it, then to Tyler. "He's okay now, buddy," he said. "He won't hurt you." But the bikers weren't done. One of them tackled Cena from behind, trying to put him in a chokehold. Cena's instincts kicked in. He dropped his weight, elbowed the man in the ribs, and with a sharp movement flipped him over his shoulder. The attacker hit the gravel hard and didn't get up. Two others tried to double-team Dwayne. One grabbed his arm while the other rushed in with fists flying. But Dwayne stomped hard on the foot of the one holding him, breaking free, and then unleashed a powerful right hook that sent the second attacker staggering. The first tried to recover, but Dwayne caught him in a bear hug, lifted him off the ground, and tossed him into a stack of empty crates near the convenience store. The sound of the scuffle had drawn onlookers back out from the store. Some held up phones, filming in awe. Others stood stunned, unable to believe what they were witnessing. One man whispered, "They're taking on a whole gang." Tyler, still standing close but safe behind a parked truck, watched every move with wonder and fear. His heroes were fighting for him, and winning. Roy, now bloodied and panting, looked around at his fallen crew. His knife was gone, his allies downed, and the crowd was watching. But his rage wasn't spent. "You think this is over?" he barked, wiping blood from his chin. "I've got more boys. I'll bring 'em all. You won't leave this town in one piece." Dwayne stepped forward. "You're done, Roy. Call off your dogs before you get buried next to them." Roy lunged again, this time bare-handed, swinging wildly at Cena. Cena blocked the first blow, dodged the second, and countered with a quick jab to Roy's gut. Then, in a motion that drew cheers from the crowd, Cena lifted Roy clean off his feet. "You can't see me," he said, holding him high. Then he brought Roy crashing down in a textbook attitude adjustment right onto the gravel. The lot went silent for a heartbeat, and then the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Roy lay on the ground groaning, his fight finally extinguished. The remaining bikers, seeing their leader down and their own bodies aching, began to stagger to their feet and retreat. One of them called out, "This ain't over," but none of them turned back. Tyler ran forward as Cena helped Dwayne to his feet. "You guys were amazing," he said out of breath. Cena smiled, placing a hand on Tyler's shoulder. "You okay, champ?" The boy nodded fiercely. "I knew you'd protect me." "We've got your back," Dwayne said, ruffling his hair. "Always." As sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, the gas station began to calm. The fight was over, for now, but everyone knew this night would be remembered forever. The air hung heavy in the aftermath of the brawl. Gravel was scattered, adrenaline still pulsed through the crowd, and the scent of sweat and heat lingered in the air. Roy lay on the ground groaning, the echo of Cena's attitude adjustment still seeming to vibrate through the parking lot. His once confident sneer had twisted into a grimace of pain and humiliation. Around him, his crew of bikers groaned or limped, some helping each other up while others simply retreated into the shadows. But Roy wasn't ready to admit defeat. Not yet. As John Cena stood tall beside Dwayne Johnson, both men scanning the scene to make sure no one else posed a threat, Roy struggled to his knees. Blood smeared his chin, and dust coated his jacket. His eyes burned with a different kind of rage now. Not bravado, not the cocky smirk he wore when he first strolled over, but raw, exposed hatred. His pride had been shattered in front of a crowd, and that was something he couldn't stomach. "You think this is over?" Roy spat, forcing himself to his feet. "You think you've won? You have no idea who you're messing with." Dwayne took a step forward, arms crossed, his presence like an immovable mountain. "You messed with a kid. You set a dog on him. And now you're talking about revenge? You're pathetic," Cena added, voice calm but laced with steel. "We gave you every chance to walk away. This is on you." Roy wobbled but didn't back down. He let out a sharp whistle. At first, nothing happened. But then, two of his remaining crew, bruised and limping, came closer. One of them picked up the same chain Cena had disarmed earlier. The other held a crowbar. They looked less confident than before, but still loyal enough to make one last stand. "Get them," Roy ordered through clenched teeth. The two men hesitated, exchanging glances. Then, almost as if unwilling to challenge Roy openly, they stepped forward. Cena and Dwayne glanced at each other once, no words needed. They moved in perfect sync. The biker with the chain swung it high, aiming for Cena's head. Cena ducked, caught the chain mid-air, and with a sharp tug disarmed the man and sent him stumbling into a nearby trash bin. Dazed and embarrassed, the biker didn't get up. The one with the crowbar lunged at Dwayne, who sidestepped with ease, grabbing the biker by the wrist and twisting it behind his back. The crowbar fell with a loud clang. Dwayne then spun him around and planted a heavy boot into his chest, knocking him flat. Roy watched with fury, his last loyal fighters out cold or fleeing. His chest heaved as he reached for his jacket again, and from inside he pulled a second knife. This one was longer, deadlier looking, with a serrated edge. The crowd gasped as he brandished it with both hands, his eyes crazed. "You two think you're invincible," Roy barked. "Let's see how you do against this." Tyler's mother, still clutching her son behind a parked car, screamed, "No! Please, stop!" But Roy was already charging toward Cena with everything he had left. The knife glinted in the flickering gas station lights, his boots pounding against the pavement. John Cena didn't move until the last moment. Then he stepped to the side, grabbed Roy's wrist, twisted sharply, and drove a knee into his gut. Roy doubled over, dropping the knife with a loud clatter. Cena then tossed him toward Dwayne, who didn't hesitate. With a grim look, Dwayne scooped Roy up and drove him into the ground with a textbook spinebuster. Roy let out a groan that silenced the entire lot. Dwayne rose slowly, breathing hard, standing over Roy's limp body. Cena walked over and crouched beside Roy. "This is done. You tried to hurt a child. You tried to hurt us, and you failed." Roy coughed, his voice weak. "You're going to regret this." "No," Cena said firmly. "You will." From the distance came the wailing sound of sirens. Blue and red lights began to flash across the trees lining the highway. The police were arriving, and fast. A few of the scattered onlookers stepped out again, whispering to each other in disbelief. Someone yelled, "Here they come," as two police cruisers pulled into the lot, tires crunching over the gravel. Doors flew open and officers poured out, guns drawn until they took in the scene. Battered bikers, a crumpled leader, and two very large, very calm men standing in the middle of it all. An older officer with a mustache and steely gaze approached, lowering his weapon. "What the hell happened here?" Dwayne stepped forward. Self-defense and protection. That guy, he pointed to Roy, set a dog on a child, then came at us with weapons. We stepped in. The officer looked down at Roy, who was still groaning on the ground, then at the weapons, then at the scattered witnesses, all nodding in confirmation. Another officer walked over to Tyler and his mother. "Are you both okay?" She nodded quickly, holding her son tight. "They saved us, both of them. If they hadn't been here..." The officers got to work quickly. Roy was handcuffed, read his rights, and dragged toward the back seat of a cruiser. He didn't struggle this time. One of the bikers who had tried to flee was brought back by another officer. The rest had disappeared into the darkness. Before Roy was shoved into the car, he locked eyes with Cena one last time. "You humiliated me. I'll remember this." Cena stepped forward, not breaking eye contact. "You should remember the kid you tried to hurt. Remember that." The door slammed shut, muffling Roy's curses. The other officers collected statements. Many in the crowd praised Cena and Dwayne, snapping photos or expressing thanks. But the two men stayed humble, directing attention back to Tyler and his mom. "You were brave, champ," Cena told Tyler, crouching to meet his eyes. Tyler beamed. "You didn't let him hurt me." "That's what real strength is," Dwayne added, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Not hurting people, but protecting them." The dog, who had been sitting quietly by the store, trotted up and sat beside Dwayne. He gave the animal a thoughtful look. "He didn't choose this," he said quietly. "Bad people trained him to do bad things." The police confirmed the dog would be taken into care and evaluated, not put down. Dwayne gave the shepherd one final pat on the head. "You'll be okay, buddy. Just needed a better pack." As the officers began finishing up, the adrenaline began to fade. The gas station's lights flickered above the scene like they always had, dim, tired, and unchanged. But for everyone present, something had changed. They had witnessed more than a fight. They had seen what courage looked like. Tyler approached again, holding a crumpled paper in his hand. "Wait," he called out. "I made something." He handed it to Cena and Dwayne. It was a drawing. The two of them standing tall, the German Shepherd beside them, and Tyler in the middle holding up his sign. Above it, in big, uneven letters, it read, "My Heroes." Cena smiled and folded the paper gently. "This is going with me everywhere." Dwayne nodded. "We won't forget you, champ." As they finally made their way back to the Jeep, the crowd slowly dispersed. The cops finished up. The broken glass and gravel remained, but the fear had faded. The gas station felt safe again. Cena started the engine. Dwayne looked out the window at Tyler, who waved hard, beaming. "Some stop for gas," Dwayne said. Cena chuckled. "Yeah, some stop." They pulled onto the highway as the sky began to turn purple, the night stretching out ahead, quiet once more, for now. The flashing lights of the police cars faded into the distance as the officers drove off with Roy and the remaining bikers in custody. The gas station, once the scene of chaos, had settled into a strange calm. The cracked pavement still bore scuff marks from the fight, and the occasional glint of metal from the scattered chain and crowbar hinted at the storm that had passed. But in the eyes of those who remained, especially Tyler, there was no fear left, only admiration and relief. John Cena and Dwayne Johnson stood side by side, their muscles tense but their expressions softening as they scanned the scene one last time to make sure everything was safe. Tyler stood a few feet away with his mother, still holding the edges of his crumpled sign. His eyes followed every movement of his heroes. Dwayne approached the German Shepherd that had been sitting quietly near the convenience store entrance. The dog watched him with alert but calm eyes, its earlier aggression gone. Dwayne crouched and extended a hand. The shepherd stepped forward, sniffed his fingers, and then licked them. Dwayne smiled, brushing his hand down the dog's back. "You did what you were trained to do," he said gently. "It's not your fault. You're not the monster." Tyler watched with curiosity, his earlier fear of the animal now replaced by a budding trust. Cena joined them and looked down at the dog. "He's calmer now," he said. "You think they'll take care of him?" "Yeah," Dwayne nodded. "They said animal control's coming. I'll make sure he ends up somewhere safe, maybe even a new home." Tyler stepped forward slowly. The dog looked at him but didn't growl. Cena watched him carefully. "It's okay, champ. You're safe now." Tyler reached out with a small hand and touched the dog's fur. The shepherd wagged its tail slowly. "He's not scary anymore," Tyler said quietly. "He was just scared too." "That's right," Dwayne said, his voice warm. "Everyone can change with the right people around them." Tyler's mother, still shaken but now smiling through tears, approached the men. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "You protected my son. You didn't have to, but you did." Cena offered a quiet smile. "We're all responsible for each other. We couldn't stand by and let that happen." She wiped at her eyes, holding Tyler's shoulder. "You reminded me that there's still good people out there." The small crowd that had gathered earlier began to drift back to their lives. A few stopped to say thank you. One old man clapped Cena on the back. A teenage girl asked Dwayne for a picture. But eventually, it was just the four of them again. John, Dwayne, Tyler, and his mom. The quiet hum of a distant highway filled the silence. Tyler reached into the pocket of his hoodie. "Wait," he said, holding something out, "before you go." It was a fresh drawing, one he had managed to sketch while sitting on the curb with a borrowed pen and a napkin. The image showed Cena and Dwayne standing tall in front of the gas station, Tyler between them holding his sign, and the German Shepherd sitting loyally beside them, Across the top, written in bold, jagged letters, were the words, "My Protectors." Cena took the drawing with care, holding it like it was a treasure. "You made this?" Tyler nodded. "It's for you, so you don't forget." Dwayne smiled wide, clapping Cena gently on the back. "That's going in a frame," he said. "Best gift I've gotten all year." Cena crouched in front of Tyler, looking him in the eye. "You were brave today, but remember, being strong isn't just about muscles or fighting. It's about knowing when to stand up and when to ask for help. It's about protecting, not hurting." Tyler nodded, his eyes shining. "I'll remember." Dwayne joined them. "And don't ever let fear stop you from doing what's right. That's what makes a real champion." The German shepherd barked softly as if agreeing. Cena reached into his pocket and tucked the drawing inside his jacket. Tyler's mother stepped forward again, her voice more confident now. "We're heading home. Thank you for everything." "Take care of him," Cena said with a smile. "I will," she promised. They walked toward their car, Tyler waving back the entire time. Cena and Dwayne stood beside the Jeep, watching them go. "Well," Dwayne said, exhaling deeply, "not how I expected today to go." Cena laughed. "Stopped for gas, left with a memory we'll never forget." Dwayne looked at him. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" "Yeah," Cena said. "We stick around until animal control shows up, make sure that dog's all right. And after that, we go home, but we don't forget this place or that kid." Dwayne nodded. "Real heroes don't wear capes, huh?" Cena smirked. "Nah, sometimes they wear sweat-stained gym shirts." They stood in silence a moment longer, letting the evening air wash over them. The sunset painted the sky with streaks of orange and purple, casting long shadows over the ground that had been the site of both fear and courage. A place where violence had threatened to reign, but was stopped by something stronger. As the sound of a distant engine approached, the unmistakable rumble of an animal control van, Dwayne leaned against the Jeep and looked out toward the road. "You think Tyler will be okay?" Cena didn't hesitate. "He's got heart. He'll be more than okay." The van pulled into the lot, and Dwayne stepped forward to greet it. Cena remained by the Jeep, reaching into his pocket to look again at the drawing. He stared at it for a long moment, then smiled. Sometimes the world needed reminders that there were still people willing to do the right thing. Sometimes those reminders came not in grand speeches or flashing lights, but in quiet moments between strangers, in the bravery of a child, in a sign made of cardboard, and in a sketch drawn on a napkin. As Cena and Dwayne helped the animal control team safely load the shepherd into the van, the last light of the sun dipped below the trees. The world moved on, but something had changed. They returned to the Jeep, climbed in, and pulled out of the lot, leaving behind a gas station that would never be quite the same again. Tyler's drawing stayed in Cena's jacket pocket, close to his heart. A reminder that being strong wasn't about the fights you won, but the people you chose to protect. Bikers start threatening a black teenager at a quiet gas station. But what happens next when two unexpected heroes step in will leave everyone speechless. Watch until the end and decide, what would you do? Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next.